What is up, guys? Today, I don't know why that lisp came out of me, but anyway, today I wanted to discuss something that I saw maybe 2 days ago on Twitter, and it's pretty much about video games and the economics of video games these days. And what I saw on Twitter was that they released something called Pokemon Home, and people lost their minds over it. And just bear in mind that my opinions will be based on the posts that I saw, the tweets that I saw. I am not familiar with any of these games to give you a more in-depth opinion based on experience, but at a glance I can have an opinion on the economical aspect of it. So just ride with me while I set the story. So one of the tweets that I saw was someone called Makoto says that on a reply to a tweet by Sylph that said Pokemon Sword costs $60, Pokemon Shield costs $60, Pokemon downloadable content DLC, if you don't know what that is $30, Pokemon Home is $16 a year, meaning it's a subscription. Pokemon Bank is $5 per year, and the Nintendo Online subscription is $20 a year. After all of this is available, it might be a good singular $60 game, not 131 minus 191 plus USD, which increases by $41 per year. So the Makoto person was replying with, one, you don't need both versions. Two, you don't need the whole year of home. Three, Nintendo Online isn't part of, I guess that means Sword and Shield. Wasn't made by, what is GF again? Game Freak, I think, and works for tons of other games. It shouldn't be on this list, for you can also buy used games if you need to. And then someone else said, to put this into perspective, all of this costs us $200 where this person lives. All I have to say is that I grew up in a fine time in gaming, I guess, because I remember a time when all I had to do to play and enjoy a game was to pay a one-time fee of, let's say that the worst spending I did on a game was $30. Or I should say the worst spending my mom did on a game was $30, because I definitely was not buying my games back then. And after that, once the game became greatest hits, it went down to exactly $20 at Walmart behind the little glass case that we're used to. That's how I bought San Andreas back in like 2005 or 2006. Reading this shocks me, but not as much as it could, only because I had experience playing my brother's PS4 starting last spring throughout the summer, occasionally until the fall. And I was playing Xenoverse 2, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and there came a point in which it was telling me that I needed to sign into the internet. I have never played a console while online. And in addition, you needed to be a member of PlayStation Plus, Membership Plus. I forget what it's called, but it's a yearly subscription. I forget what the price is, but there's like options. You can do $10 a month, or for the year, I think it's like $60. I never ever consider spending money on games these days. As much as I love them, as much as I grew up with them, as much as I enjoy them, in my budget, any kind of subscription to play a game is never justified. And especially given that I know how electronics affect people's minds these days, like, say, people are glued to their phones, people are just spending too much time on their hands, as they like to phrase it, I would be capable of ending a relationship, for example, if someone was dedicating too many hours to a fucking video game or being online. What are you doing online? Unless you're running a business, you're not excused. So even if I had a lot of money to justify spending on this bullshit, I would still not give it a go. I would still never give it an opportunity. So if you're someone who has a daytime job and you can afford this comfortably, good for you. Enjoy it. If this is what you want to do with your time, go right ahead. But to me, none of this is justified, especially the price for a game. And I know that game these days are far more advanced, and because they are more advanced, they actually require maintenance. I guess I just missed the time when, if I enjoyed a franchise a lot, all I had to do was wait for the developer to come out with a part two, and then I would buy that. Say, Metal Gear. I loved Metal Gear. Oh, Metal Gear Solid 2 is coming out? Great. There I go. I got Metal Gear Solid 2. Everything that I need was in that game. Everything possible that I could need was in that game. And then, as the years progressed, so did the mechanics, so did the graphics, but I am against the people who, for some reason, actually stand with the companies. I guess it's because they are truly passionate about games in ways that I just am not anymore. Like, there's people who do not mind that there's the PlayStation 20 coming out and it can do all these amazing things, like you can play games in your sleep or something. Is that as far as this is going to go? But I'm just saying that at some point, as a consumer, there has to be limitations, and anyone complaining about these prices is probably someone who grew up just like me. And as much as we enjoy the advances in technology, in consoles and whatnot, some of this is getting out of hand. And to further illustrate the point, I will proceed to another yet interesting thread. And this is someone called Poké Ninja. And he or she says, people complaining about Pokemon Home being $16 a year, that's $1.33 a month. Literally less than a 20-ounce, I guess, can or gallon or liter, liter of soda. This everything needs to be free mentality needs to go get a job. What I need to say about that, or have to say about that, is that even if something were 25 cents a month, it's a subscription. Subscriptions add up. And the thing about subscriptions is that there's usually a catch to them, but I guess in this case it is not. But to me, the idea of, in order to get something, you need to pay for it to keep it. Unless it's a utility, it's not justified in my budget. And how much of this am I going to consume? $16 a year in the long run will add up. And God forbid if you forget to cancel this membership and you don't touch the game for months. I'm just saying that memberships make you more likely to become addicted to wasting your time playing games, unless this is the way you make a living. You go right ahead. But the average person simply cannot afford to be indebting themselves more than they already are for the sake of entertainment. You got Netflix, that's a subscription. You got the PlayStation Plus thing, or whatever it's called. If you play the PlayStation 4, that's another subscription. Then you have the regular subscriptions that form part of your day. Let's just throw them in here, which, if you look at it that way, your electric bill, that's a subscription. Your rent, that's a subscription. The gym, that's a subscription. All of these little things. What people are saying is that it is, again, it's crazy for me to think that in order for me to play games and enjoy all of their features, I have to purchase this. How about if you create a game that will perform all of these tasks, but you only pay the one-time fee of the $40 or $60 that a game costs nowadays. Because some people do not feel like they are getting the most out of their experience. And it's also insane that developers are like, oh, let me withhold this from you so that you are compelled to purchase this. It is a form of manipulation, and it shouldn't be the case because companies are not necessarily broke, you know? So, in a sense, what we're trying to say is that capitalism is getting out of control, and we understand that the servers need to be maintained, the software needs to be maintained, all of that stuff needs to be maintained. But what the fuck are you doing with the money that you make from people buying the thing once? Like those $60 that you make from someone buying it, what are you doing with that money? You are a company who has investments going on. Why can you not pay for the upkeep through those sales? You know? But that is me, again, from the point of view of someone who is not involved in the industry, and I don't care. I will remain ignorant on this matter unless you guys just start commenting in here and I catch up to the comments and someone explains to me why this has to be the way things need to be. But again, games, spending on games, again, is not justified in my budget. And for a lot of people, it is not. And most of the people complaining are probably people who grew up like me, who are used to, oh, if I want to play a game, I can count on just spending on it once and I get all of the features that I want from it. In a sense, because we live in such a time where we are very nostalgic. Like the gym's playlist is nothing but songs from the 90s or 80s, even the 70s. And some trends that we're trying to revive, like certain hairstyles, certain clothes, like styles and whatnot. We are definitely trying to capitalize off nostalgia. And I think that with that in mind, some of these people are really nostalgic of a time when navigating the gaming world was not this complicated and like demanding of so much money. And do not tell someone you need to get a job. Probably the people commenting, people in their 20s, because those of us born in the 90s are heading into our 30s now. You know, we know what it's like to have a job, and especially have a job with hardships. And even with hardships, we still keep ourselves alive and keep ourselves afloat. So when you tell someone get a job, I think that's you being limited when it comes to your capacity to have an open-ended discussion. But anyway, that's beside the point. And I think that it's not a mentality of stuff needs to be free. Playing games is not free. You have to pay for a console and you have to pray to God that nothing happens to that console where you need to have it replaced, and that this stuff is not stuff that you really like have insurance on or whatever. And if your games break or something, that's different. You definitely would need to spend another $60 to replace that broken game. But it's not about things being free. It's all about things being less complicated. And everything, absolutely everything, is asking for a subscription. Magazines are looking for subscriptions. Even to go online and read an article, you need to pay for a subscription. And what do all of these people who are famous, like famous news people who are like who became famous because of YouTube. They too are asking for a subscription. Join my website for $50. Join my website for 80. I don't know how many of these are out there and how much they cost. I just remember what I heard, the prices I heard. Again, I know they have staff. I know they have like a website to maintain. We know that stuff costs money. What we are trying to say is that this is yet again another thing, another industry, gaming, that is demanding a fucking subscription. We are just trying to say that we are overwhelmed and it's becoming impossible to enjoy the things that we're used to enjoying. Like, this is not about wanting stuff for free at all. This is all about people expressing that they're overwhelmed financially in order to keep enjoying the stuff that they're used to enjoy. That is it. That is what I think of. I'm not thinking that people are not willing to spend their money. They know that money earned is money that you need to spend. What would be the point of making money if you're not going to spend it or invest it? You know, like, it would be pretty silly, wouldn't it? But anyway, let's proceed through the thread, and then you guys will get a better feel for it. Let's see. And then he goes, or she goes, muted this because some responses are pretty silly. Remember, it's okay to have different opinions, that blah blah blah. You do not have to be of working age to do chores around the house for allowance, do some work around the neighborhood, find a way. I've lived in a low income household for my entire childhood, and my mom could still come up with 16 bucks. So, once again, good for you. Not everyone's circumstances are the same. And I'm just saying, when you're trying to propose solutions, a lot of the solutions that you come up with are not executable by most people. And it is okay for there to be hardships to fulfilling this. Because again, $16, as little as it is, a one time fee for a year of $16, it may not sound like a lot, but in this country, it is a lot because everything depends on a subscription. Even your health insurance. We don't have free health insurance. So it's not like we're living our best lives anyway, if you are from the underprivileged part of society. And then someone goes, yes, Karen, I'm aware that 9-year-olds cannot get jobs. They're too busy spending their mom's money on Roblox currency that could have been used for this annual $16 fee. Pokemon Home is free, premium is paid. Go anywhere in life and look for the free premium option. Let's see, what else? Added features, really good ones. Developers getting paid shouldn't be complained about. I mean, how much do developers need to make? I guess I need to explore the complexities of the job, and I guess you need a lot of education to perform this because I just cannot imagine a life in which nobody can make it on, say, at least, let's say, $100,000 a year. I think most people could comfortably live a life with that kind of income, but if you do not know how to like budget that, then it's your problem. Like, millionaires need a budget themselves. But anyway, that's not the point. Pokemon makes plenty of money. Don't act like they need money to pay the developers. Exactly. Not all developers are Pokemon developers. These developers are outsourced by many other companies. From mobile to console, all these smaller developers need to make a living. Target market it important is important though. I don't mind the 15.99, but my 13-year-old brother having to explain to my parents why he needs this on top of the game and on top of the NSO after it already cost them £85 for both, that's where the problem lies, really. Exactly. And we live in an age in which we're all about protecting the children and whatnot. So why is this okay? I'll tell you why. These developers, these people, these companies know that the folks who grew up with this stuff are of working age. They are happy that younger kids enjoy these games as well and tap their parents on the shoulder. And if you can reach your parents on the shoulder, but let's assume they're sitting down or something, and go like, Mommy, Daddy, I want this game. And then your parents, you as parents, this is probably us, you'll recognize that your child wants to play Pokemon and Pokemon is something you grew up with. You will understand where they're coming from when it comes to enjoying the games, but you'll be like, good grief, you need a subscription for this? Where's this coming from? And for the folks who are parents to young kids and you yourself are old and did not grow up playing games, let me tell you, paying for this is not justified. And this is coming from someone in her 20s. And I grew up with this mess, all right? So, yeah, if you have to say no to your 9-year-old, that you don't want to pay the subscription, you go right ahead. You have my support. And anyways, companies know that folks from the 90s are in their 20s and 30s, entering their 30s. They know that these people are working. So they're trying to come up with fees that seem really, what is it, petty. Like, oh, it's only $16 per year, but $16 multiplied by millions. Again, where is this money really going to? Like, over the years, you have made so much money. Where is that money going to? I know that equipment can get expensive, but you can get, as a brand, you can get deals from other brands, you know? So it's not like you have to pay the sticker price on everything in life that you encounter. Let's see. And then someone else says that the kid who needs this subscription could start mowing lawns, collecting cans, whatever. I know I had to back then, and my cousins who were younger did this too. If you want something, work for it. And blame the 13-year-old for being too poor to buy a product from the biggest media franchise in the world. Remember, these kids cannot have subscriptions because no bank account, so they have to pay for prepaid cards. Or they could go work for cash in their neighborhood and give the cash to their parents and use their parents' card. Working isn't that hard. And I'm thinking, when I was a kid, I sure as hell was not making plans with my parents' finances. And as an adult, this is another piece of financial responsibility that I have to put my mind on. It shouldn't have to be this way. That's what I'm saying. So that's why, for the folks who are complaining about this, I completely understand it. It is a game. Maybe don't develop games that are this complicated to maintain, you know? But the solution is there, in the same manner that you can tell the consumers who are underage, that they need to make their money. Maybe you need to like slow down with your development because some stuff is getting too crazy out here, you know? Again, I know that's stupid to say, but when you do not try to understand where the people who quote unquote want the free stuff come from, then I too will have to not take you seriously. Let's see. What else people are saying? I have a job, I also have rent, bills, and a plethora of subscriptions. And to be honest, I have been thinking about cutting some of them down because I'm already spreading myself pretty thin with my spending money. Another $16 a year added to the $30 DLC for a $60 game. Not saying make it all free, but the nickel and dime tactics that are seemingly present in every AAA game is getting tiring. Also, the way I look at this is from a political point of view. These are people who are constantly looking for your money. Like, no matter what you do in this life, you don't get to keep your money. You don't get to grow your money. You have to constantly be giving it to someone else. What does someone else give you? You're performing a trade, which is, for your money, I will trade you this piece of entertainment, and you will consume the piece of entertainment. But at the end of the day, this is not helping you grow in life. This is not changing your life for the better. It's just helping you escape your problems for a few hours, maybe. And what I am saying is that this is not justified in my budget because, in the grand scheme of things, it's not something that I need for my mental health or emotional support. And it's most definitely not helping me grow my business. Playing games is a waste of time unless you happen to be someone privileged to make a living off playing games. But for the rest of us, it is a waste of time, and we cannot be irresponsibly spending our money on this mess. That is all that we are saying. I think people are just sick of subscription based services. I would rather pay $60 once than $10 per month for something I'll use for 6 months. Exactly. This person gets it. Why do you have to penalize the consumer by obliging them to commit to a subscription? A subscription is a commitment. And your life can change so fast. Unless you're keeping an active list or you have an amazing memory of where your money is going to every month, this very easily can financially ruin anybody, even though the amount that you spend in a year may seem little. For some people, it is a big deal, and it shouldn't have to be this complicated. And yeah, pretty much the discussion keeps going on, and I pretty much have said everything that I have to say on this matter. I think that subscriptions are lame, and they are a way to imprison you and commit you and possibly even make money off you when you kind of forget. I have heard a lot of people say, even my friends, like really close to home, they go, "Oh, I keep forgetting to cancel my Amazon subscription and it renewed, and now I'm screwed because I paid the, what is it, $120 or something." It sounds like very little because it all of it gets taken away once in a particular month. But for some people, let's say that you did not get paid as much this paycheck. Let's say that you got your hours cut and then this bill, surprise, hits you. That is where we're coming from. It'll mess you up in ways that you cannot imagine. And we're not trying to mess with that. JP says hello. ARN says hi, Zambri. Zambri, have you ever been to the West Coast? No, I have not. I have not. I would, but very briefly, just to visit. I find it interesting that the hot spot lately has been Hawaii. Like, I had a friend who's also a colleague who nearly went out for a position out there. I also happen to have sold something that's going to Hawaii, and or that went to Hawaii. And then I heard of someone who's about to leave for Hawaii as well. And then I had another colleague about a year or two ago who went to Hawaii. So I guess the Pacific is really that great or something. But if I had to choose a place to go to out west, I would not choose California. I would not choose Washington. I would not choose Oregon. 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 I always say Oregon. Anyways, I would not go out there to Oregon, but I would definitely choose somewhere exotic like Alaska, even if it's like remote and cold. But of course, I would go toward the warmer months since I hate the hot weather. And then let's see. But yeah, Hawaii, I don't care for it much really. I think that it's nice that it's part of the union, but at the same time, I don't feel like to have an excellent vacation, I have to go all the way out there. It's supposed to be like the most remote place on the planet, right? And it's nice that as US citizens, we don't have to like get a passport or something to go somewhere relatively exotic. I guess I would have to go to know what it's like out there, but it doesn't draw my attention. I'm not someone who is wild about traveling, to be fair. So it is very, very unlikely that you'll see me vlogging from out there unless I have money to burn and I'm just fucking bored out of my mind and cannot think of anything better to do. I cannot imagine traveling out west. Now, I will probably cross the pond farther east than that, than going west actually at some point, but I am not dying for the experience. So if you're thinking that I might have a travel spirit, then no. No. Subscriptions for Netflix, Hulu, etc. are not lame. Surely they are worth it. If you're someone who can do marathons, like you can watch stuff endlessly, and you're someone who consumes that a lot, sure, it's a subscription that works for you. But for me, I consider watching movies, watching TV shows a fucking waste of time. So therefore, me having that subscription would be lame. And I think that most adults should agree that those things are a waste of time. But just because I think they're a waste of time, I'm not trying to say that it is wrong for people to impose that on themselves as their values. But if you end up complaining that you don't have enough time in your day to do stuff, and this is something that you consume a lot, then I cannot respect you because I see the solution. Stop wasting time on stuff that doesn't help you grow. Like, you know? But anyway, again, that's just me. That's the way I look at it. And maybe I stay away from it for religious reasons as well. So I guess it works for some people. I mean, if you really enjoy to spend the endless hours in front of a screen, you go right ahead. I mean, if you love movies, this is the thing for you. Hulu and all that, that's the thing for you. But I'm just sick of people asking me, "Do you have Netflix? Do you have Hulu?" And I say, "No." And then people are like, "Why don't you? You need to get it. There's this really good show and this and that." And I know that what the person is trying to do is engage in a conversation with me about something that they enjoy, something that they love. But at the same time, understand where I am coming from when I stay away from that stuff. YouTube alone can be pretty dangerous. I have like 170 things on my watch later. And sometimes I feel stressed out that I am not catching up to the stuff that I'm meaning to watch later, that I have saved for later. It's like a book that you start and you don't finish reading. And then my behavior sometimes changes as a result of that. And I'm like, why am I worrying about something that's not a big deal? You know, it just isn't. So if you ever hear me criticizing something harshly like that, it's because I probably know of someone whose life is being negatively impacted by one of these habits. And I just like to attack it in an effort to keep myself safe from it and also my loved ones. But again, if this is the thing that really rocks you to the core, then you go right ahead, consume it. It's not my money that I'm spending to keep you with your Hulu and Netflix subscription, so I don't give a fuck. Now, if you're someone in my family and I need to rely on you for something and you're wasting away, we're going to have a conversation. But yeah, you guys can do whatever. I'm just letting you know how I look at it and how that makes me feel. Zambri, come to Seattle or Portland or LA, you will like it. I don't know. I doubt it. Like, I can enjoy visiting a place, but after 4 days, it seems to be my average. After 3 or 4 days, I'm ready to go. Some places, depending on my initial arrival, I am ready to go back home after like 8 hours. Pretty much the equivalent of a shift. I don't know what it is about me being away from home. I get home comatose. Like not even homesick. I just get comatose. I like to be here, just chill, be around my stuff, and exploring things is something that I can do in very, 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 very small doses. It's just the way I am. My brother, we had an argument one time in which he was trying to impose to me his values. He kept saying, "The only reason you don't feel excited about going to see places is because you haven't done it." Like he's been to Japan and I guess many other places overseas, Canada and whatnot. And I'm like, if you can ever accept that your values and your definition of having fun differs from mine, then you'll have a better time socializing with me. But I mean, he was like upset. He was like, no, you need to see more things, you need to experience more things. Let me discover that on my own. The few times that I have traveled, I think I was able to enjoy more than not because I planned for it carefully. And the one thing that I hated doing was going to Texas to his graduation from the basic training for the Air Force back in 2012 because that was right in the middle of school. School to me is something I take very seriously. I am sorry that this event took place during that time and you had zero control of when that date was going to be, but you disrupted my studies and I hated it a lot. I had to miss a day from school and I had perfect attendance that whole time. Like middle school, I probably missed only 3 days out of my entire middle school experience. Elementary school, I missed more days than that because I used to be a sickly kid. But high school, I missed 0 days. And anything beyond that, I have never been absent, except recently for work when I got sick with the thing that I got sick with, like 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, actually. It's been more than 2 weeks. But yeah, just don't try to impose your values on me. It doesn't work like that. It's something I have to discover on my own. And I bet you that after my first overseas trip, I will probably be like, oh yeah, this was cool, this was fun, this was entertaining. But maybe after the second or third day, if I have to be away for longer than that, I am going to be ready to go. So, again, that's just me. If someone says that they're not wild about something, just respect them. They probably have thought about this. And if the idea of doing something doesn't excite them, it just doesn't. It doesn't suit them. Let's see. Zambri, come to Seattle or Portland. I just read that. West Coast is very beautiful. I don't doubt it. Also, Vancouver, because Canada. You know, Vancouver was the first place I ever said I feel I could be excited about going to visit. Um, I used to say that I wanted to go, of course, somewhere European to go travel because that's what everybody ever says. Everyone ever, when you're a kid, well, everyone from around here, let me put it that way, we all used to say, I want to go to Paris. I want to go to the Eiffel Tower. It's always a European place because that's what they put on our faces when you watch movies. The anything associated with positivity, romance, good food, it always comes from Europe. But the first place I ever said I might consider going, and I was pretty serious about it, was Canada. I said I would go to Vancouver. I don't know what it is about Vancouver, but I think about it and I'm like, I think I would rather experience the West Coast out there as opposed to like California or something. But that is not really something in my bucket list, so you'll probably never see a Vancouver vlog in this channel. But should it happen, it'll probably be when I'm old and established. If I ever become old and established. But yeah, it's just not in my plans. I cannot think about those things because I don't have the means to make it happen. Traveling is expensive and it's definitely not my priority. I should make it a priority because exploring places can really inspire you, and I definitely enjoy being out in nature and exploring the planet and whatnot, but I have to keep my focus. I have to stay responsible. And sometimes people end up taking on debt that they're not supposed to. And if I am peaceful and happy, it's because the choices I'm making are wise. And if I have to regret not traveling, oh well, I'll regret it later on. But right now, it is not my concern. What religious reasons? Well, it's about being bombarded by messages that do not align with my values. So, say when you watch TV and movies, of course, there is a theme in them. And I personally try to keep myself disciplined and distance from certain influences. It's not because I'm weak, it's not because I cannot handle it, it's just because it does me no good. I can expose myself to other people's perspectives and other people's works of art, but my personal religious reasons is that I must not like dive into things that are not good for my soul. Like, say, how can I phrase this? Say I shouldn't be spending money on things that are not for my betterment, that are not for my growth, are not helping me stay healthy. Entertainment of that kind is not something that I need. So, for religious reasons, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be investing my resources on those things. That's what I mean. So, it it doesn't necessarily go against me, like um the messages that I see in movies, social networks and whatnot, they don't mess me up. But it's just that I have disciplined myself to be careful about how much of something I consume. That's why I don't go to the movie theater. That's why I don't feel like I need to rent movies. Sometimes I end up renting movies that I have already watched. And unless this movie is something incredible, like I used to think that the grand finale of, say, The Avengers was cool, and that's why I was able to join my boyfriend to watch it. I didn't mind that because it's like, hey, superheroes, fiction. I have grown up with this. Let me see the resolution. But I'm not looking into the future trying to get into something. A lot of people are looking forward to the next thing in fiction. I don't even read fiction books. So I cannot consume that stuff. It goes against my what I believe in, what I practice, what my day consists of. And that's why I phrase it as for religious reasons, because it's not part of what I need in my day to live well. You know, if it doesn't make sense, it's okay. It doesn't need to make sense to you. I am happy not exposing myself to those things and not investing my time on those things. So I will be that person who you say, Zem, have you ever seen Game of Thrones? No, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care. Don't tell me about it because you're going to waste your time. But if there's something, there's a joke in there that you want to share, sure, go ahead and share it with me. Or if there's a political message in there that was delivered beautifully, then go for it. Like the X-Men. I look at the X-Men as what is it? It's like the civil rights movement. These are mutants who are looked down on, who people are terrified of. They are seen with disgust and distrust and stuff like that. It's pretty similar to what we experience in real life when it comes to immigrants. Immigrants are considered inferior, or like they cannot contribute anything positive to society, and that you have to doubt them. And or if someone is from a different race, you're like, oh, this person is definitely a bad person because of how they dress or because of the religion that they practice or something. So I see the X-Men and I'm thinking politically it has a beautiful message, which is what you're doing is fucked and we're going to defend ourselves. But there's two sides to it. There's the Xavier side to it and there's the Magneto side of it. Now, when something like that is put together, it may draw my attention and I may consume it, but the only reason I consumed it is because when I was a kid, I saw that and I thought it was cool. I used to love Cyclops. His power shooting laser through your eyes. It's cool. People with like telepathic abilities. I have always wished I could fly. I have always wished I could control the weather. I have always wished that I could move things away from me without having to get up and do it myself. The X-Men pretty much put into perspective stuff that I had already imagined, and it just enhanced it for me. And it also, as I grew older and I watched Days of Future Past, that's when I was like, hold on. I thought that the X-Men were all about a team of people who happen to have different powers just to combat and foe who could be anything, and there's someone out there to match it. Say if you have someone who is really strong and has ice powers like Bobby, then it would be good to have someone whose power is fire just to make sure that he is evened out. You know, like Pokemon. Pokemon seems to have an opposer that makes sure that no power gains too much power. So fire would be weak against water, but fire would be strong against grass. And grass would be sort of strong against water, but water would be weak against grass. Like that balance. X-Men just used people, gave them powers, and also gave them a political theme, and that's what made it enjoyable, and I was able to consume the X-Men. But now, if I think about it critically, would I be eager to consume the next thing that the X-Men put out or something? No, I have never owned a comic. I don't care for that. And like I've said before, I can love something with every fiber of my being, but if it's not something that I grew up with, I'm probably not going to invest time on it. The last game I put time into personally was Xenoverse, because I'm like, oh, PlayStation 4. I've never played it before. I've never seen Dragon Ball. How far has Dragon Ball come? I played it for cumulatively about a month, and now I let it go. And I'm probably not going to play it again. And when it comes to Metal Gear Solid, The Phantom Pain, I put time into it because I grew up with Metal Gear, but I never personally played it, and I don't care to play it. I have caught up with it by watching videos of it online, and that is way better than me purchasing the console and spending money on the game, and then God knows what other microtransactions are in the game. I do not need to be shifting my focus into that. I enjoyed my time as a gamer when I was a kid. I embraced it, I loved it, I enjoyed it, I let it go. Games have developed now. As a result, it will become more complex. It will demand more of my time to catch up to what's going on. And I am saying that that is something that I am not willing to do for religious reasons. Religious reasons is that I have priorities in my life that I need to address, and if I allow for my time to go wasted on these other things, I'm not going to achieve the things in life that matter to me. That is what I mean when I say that I do not participate on something for religious reasons. It hinders my progress. So hopefully it makes better sense now. It's really hard to put into words when I'm not really actively discussing this on a daily basis. Reality life is better learning for your mind. Fantasy can make things up. Never learn about anything I do. Love comic books, but I don't be putting my mind it's a waste of time. Zebra, most people rather believe in lies, but the truth. Yeah, that too. There's also a lot of deception, and I guess at this point you would have to be really gullible and impressionable to not be able to distinguish what's fact and what isn't, what's fiction and what isn't. But once again, I am in a stage in my life in which if I am going to receive information, it needs to be useful information that's going to help me grow and move forward. I just do not have the time for this other stuff, and I'm also not willing, and I am happy being that way. And I find that the people who are not satisfied with their lives are not making the best investment of their time. You are drowning in all this entertainment because you're trying to escape your sorrows, escape your pain. To me, the best way to escape my pain is to dig into something that's going to help me grow in the future. And it's going to make me happy as I do it. And if I were to watch a movie, sometimes I feel guilty that as opposed to hustling, I am wasting 2 to 3 hours just sitting here observing something that is trying to get me to immerse myself into this fictional world. I can do that. I can summon fiction in my brain anytime I want to, but I need to stay away from that because I have work to do. And I am happier having work to do. So this is not to shed on the creative industries at all, like the arts. I have a vast appreciation for them. I create stuff myself. But I'm just saying that when it comes to this, games demanding my precious hard earned money, I have issues with this. What happened to the days when you played the game, that's when you made money within the game. Monopoly money. That's not real life money. You had to grind away in Vice City, killing virtual people, stealing their money, and playing on missions to be able to accrue the money that you need to buy some property within the game. But now games these days, even if you play them on the phone, it's saying if you spend two real life dollars, we can give you 10,000 coins. Like Pokemon Go. I haven't played Pokemon Go since early 2017, but I remember that they had little packages. It was like, if you want 100 Pokeballs, spend $25 or something. I forget the real prices, don't quote me on those rates. But it was something like that. Or if you want to have, what other pieces of equipment were out there? I just remember the Pokeballs. And you could also upgrade the size of your backpack. Spend 10 real life dollars so that in the game you can buy maybe, what is it, 10,000 coins to purchase this upgrade. What is spending this money doing for me? It's just not wise, you know? And those are the concerns that people are bringing up. Of course, it's going to be the broke people who are saying this, but we are being responsible. We are looking at this and we're going like, what the fuck? I'm going to have to grind forever for these items and come up with creative ways to have space in my backpack and I guess release certain Pokemon that I don't need or something because I cannot be spending money like this, you know? So, anyways, that's pretty much what I mean. That there is a lot of conflict these days as to what is a value and the stuff that we used to value that we could just get and enjoy without complications. Now they have been imposing monetary values in it that affect us and not necessarily in a positive way. That's where I'm coming from with this. So, in conclusion, when it comes to this Pokemon matter of, microtransactions and whatnot, I will always be on the side of I will never ever spend real life money on a feature for a video game. Ever. So, PlayStation Plus subscription, never gonna have it. Unless I happen to incidentally be playing on a console of someone who like really badly wants me to play and they're letting me borrow it. I'm like, okay, sure, what is this? What is that? But me having that bill, never. Alright, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any more opinions on this matter, be sure to share it with me because I am really curious to see where people are coming from. Do you object to this being a thing? Do you not care, or does this not affect you at all, just like me? I'm from the club of I don't care. I'm also sad that future generations are going to struggle getting their hands on good quality entertainment and they will never know the hype of growing up knowing that your Christmas gift is all that you need. Like my mom, she got me the Game Boy Color and then a few cartridges to go along with it, and I was a happy child. As soon as I fulfilled all of the objectives within the game, I could not wait but look forward to hopefully a second part of the games that I played. And they all came. Like, I'll never forget the legacy of Goku for the Game Boy Advance. I first got the second one, because that's what used to be more popular at the time. But prior to that, of course, the first legacy of Goku, it was okay, but it was, let's face it, the mechanics in it were terrible. So, once an upgraded version came out, it became my favorite game. To this day, the legacy of Goku 2 is still my favorite game. So they need to put it maybe on a bigger console, like say PlayStation, and oof. I can see myself spending a couple of hours on that just to relive my childhood. Again, nostalgia. And the Boost Fury, I never personally played it. I have seen the playthroughs. It's an even slight upgrade from the legacy of Goku 2. I enjoyed watching it. So, once again, in my youth, when it was due, I enjoyed that stuff. And I was pretty privileged that it was during those times when, let's say, capitalism wasn't as bad of a vulture. It was still a vulture, but I guess with the limitations of technology back then, it was a blessing in disguise. And nowadays, all I see is people just finding a way to make a fucking dollar off you. Chill out with that, will ya? Anyway, well, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon. But before I go, let me see what Jordan said. Wow, Game Boy, those were the days. Yep, yes, indeed.